Why do some people become toxic? Why do certain individuals, colleagues, partners, friends, or even family members turn into people who drain your energy, manipulate your emotions, or constantly make you feel not enough? Most explanations focus on personality flaws or moral weakness. Some say it's just a bad attitude. Others blame narcissism or trauma. But Alfred Adler, one of the most underrated giants of psychology, had a different answer. A deeper, uncomfortable answer. He believed no one becomes toxic because they are powerful. People become toxic because they feel powerless. Not in a dramatic, visible way, but in a hidden, psychological way that even they don't understand. According to Adler, toxicity is not a character trait. It's a strategy, a way of dealing with unbearable feelings of inferiority by building a false sense of superiority. Today, you'll discover why some people develop toxic behaviors, why others with similar experiences never become toxic, what Adler called the Superiority Complex, the 5 psychological masks toxic people hide behind, and the most powerful way to protect yourself without becoming toxic in return. This is the real reason people become toxic, Adler's theory of superiority. Let's begin. Adler believed every human enters the world in a state of helplessness. We begin life dependent on others, small, limited, and vulnerable. He called this early experience the fundamental feeling of inferiority. This feeling, by itself, is not bad. In fact, it's the very engine of growth. A child learns to walk because they feel small compared to others who can walk. A student studies because he knows he doesn't yet understand a subject. An athlete trains because he feels the gap between where he is and where he wants to be. Inferiority gives us direction. It gives us purpose. But sometimes, things go wrong. Adler noticed that certain children, and later adults, don't develop healthy coping mechanisms. Instead of using their feelings of inferiority as motivation, they begin to see them as threats. This is where the seed of toxicity is planted. Because when a person is overwhelmed by feelings of inadequacy and is unable to develop real competence, confidence, or self-worth, they often escape into something artificial. They exaggerate their own importance. They inflate their strengths. They hide their weaknesses behind a mask. Adler called this mask the Superiority Complex. And this, he believed, is the core of all toxic behavior. Most people think someone with a superiority complex is confident, strong, arrogant, full of themselves. But Adler flips this upside down. He said, a superiority complex is the attempt to gain importance through false means. It's not strength. It's not confidence. It's camouflage. A superiority complex is how insecure people try to cope with the emotional pain of feeling inferior. Imagine a person who feels like a failure. Instead of improving themselves, they build an identity where they can never be wrong. Or imagine someone who fears abandonment. Instead of working on trust and emotional openness, they convince themselves they must stay above others so no one can hurt them. The superiority complex gives temporary relief. I'm better than you. I'm smarter than you. I'm stronger than you. I'm more important than you. But it requires one thing to survive. Someone else must stay beneath them. This is the psychological engine of toxicity, because superiority is only meaningful if someone else is made inferior. Toxic people need someone to dominate, someone to blame, someone to belittle, someone to use as a psychological crutch. Without victims, the toxic person has no identity. Adler asked a crucial question. Why do people with similar childhood challenges end up so differently? Why does one person become emotionally healthy while another becomes manipulative or aggressive? He concluded that two factors determine everything. First, deep inferiority feelings. And second, low social interest. Social interest is Adler's term for connection, empathy, belonging, and contribution to others. People with high social interest seek cooperation. People with low social interest seek domination. It's the difference between "I want to become better" versus "I want to make others feel worse." Two children may grow up feeling insecure. One becomes hardworking, empathetic, grounded. The other becomes bitter, competitive, hostile. The difference? One channels inferiority into growth. The other channels it into superiority. Toxicity is not inevitable. It's a choice, conscious or unconscious, about how to handle inner pain. Adler identified several psychological strategies people use to maintain their illusion of superiority. These masks hide the fragile self underneath. Let's break them down. Mask number 1: domination and control. This is the classic toxic pattern. They need to be the center of attention, the leader, the boss, the one who decides. Control is not about leadership, it's about safety. If they are in control, they can avoid the shame of feeling powerless. You will notice they interrupt constantly. They dismiss other perspectives. They criticize more than they contribute. They want authority without responsibility. They must win, even when nothing is at stake. Mask number 2: aggression and intimidation. These individuals use anger, sarcasm, or emotional volatility to keep others off balance. Adler said, aggression is often a defense mechanism. A person who feels weak lashes out to appear strong. You will see sudden emotional outbursts, overreactions to small disagreements, threats, guilt trips, or manipulation, shutting down conversations through fear. Their aggression is designed to protect a fragile ego. Mask number 3: perfectionism. This one is subtle. Perfectionists often appear disciplined or high-performing. But for many, perfectionism is a defense. If I appear flawless, no one will notice my weaknesses. This mask leads to harsh self-criticism, harsh criticism of others, fear of failure, inability to be vulnerable, constant pressure to perform. Their perfectionism is not about excellence, it's about survival. Mask number 4: constant comparison. These people rank everything: who is smarter, who earns more, who has a better body, who gets more attention. Every achievement of others feels like a personal threat. Their internal narrative is, if someone rises, I fall. If someone succeeds, I am exposed. This is why toxic individuals often sabotage others' growth. Mask number 5: victimhood. This one is deceptive. When the superiority mask slips, they switch to a victim mask. Suddenly, they're misunderstood. They're mistreated. Everyone is against them. No one appreciates them. Victimhood protects them from accountability. It gives them moral superiority when real superiority fails. But both masks serve the same purpose: avoiding the pain of inferiority. Adler gave one of the simplest psychological tests for identifying toxicity. Does the person help others grow, or do they need others to shrink? Healthy confidence lifts people up. Toxic superiority pushes them down. Here are common signs. They turn conversations into competitions. They rarely apologize. They blame others for their failures. They demand admiration. They don't reciprocate. They exaggerate achievements. They twist your words to protect their ego. They fear vulnerability. They sabotage others' opportunities. They react aggressively to criticism. They constantly seek validation. Most importantly, they cannot tolerate equality. Equality threatens their fragile identity. If you stand on the same level, their illusion collapses. Adler provided some of the most practical psychological tools for handling toxic individuals. The key is this: do not play the superiority game. Toxic people need competition. They need conflict. They need emotional reactions. Your reaction is fuel. Here's how to avoid giving it to them. First, stay emotionally neutral. Neutrality is kryptonite to a toxic person. They want you defensive, angry, or desperate. When you remain calm, their attacks lose momentum. Their manipulation loses power. Their superiority feels pointless. Your calmness is your shield. Second, set firm boundaries. Boundaries aren't walls. They're rules of engagement. A toxic person does not respect blurred lines. They push until you push back. You don't need to fight. You need to be clear. This is what I will accept. This is what I won't. Boundaries limit the territory their superiority can occupy. Third, don't feed their ego. Do not give special attention, admiration, or emotional rewards. Every time you react, you reinforce their illusion. Silence is often more powerful than arguments. Fourth, don't try to fix them. Adler is very clear. You cannot heal another person's inferiority complex for them. Support? Yes. Fix? Impossible. The more you try, the more they will resist, because healing threatens the very identity they built around superiority. Fifth, choose your distance. You don't have to cut them off aggressively. Just reduce your exposure. Less emotional investment, fewer conversations, less access to your vulnerabilities. Distance gives you clarity. Clarity gives you power. Adler believed toxic behavior is fundamentally rooted in fear. Fear of inadequacy, fear of rejection, fear of being exposed, fear of being ordinary, fear of being unlovable. He wrote, "The greater the feeling of inferiority, the more powerful the striving for superiority. Behind the arrogance, manipulation, domination, criticism, emotional explosions is a frightened self trying to survive. This does not excuse the behavior, but it explains it, and understanding the mechanism gives you the emotional detachment to protect yourself. Once you see the superiority complex for what it is, a collapsing structure held together by insecurity, you no longer take toxic behavior personally. You see the wounded child behind the mask. You recognize the fear behind the aggression. You understand the weakness behind the superiority. And in that moment, you reclaim your power. Toxic people don't become toxic because they are strong. They become toxic because they feel weak and don't know how to handle that weakness. Adler's theory shows us that superiority is not a sign of confidence. It's a sign of compensation. And once you understand that, you stop being intimidated by toxic people. If you found this helpful and want more deep dive psychology content, check out the other videos on this channel. Thank you for watching. And remember, real strength never needs superiority, and real confidence never requires someone else to shrink.